views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hello and welcome to a special edition of Open BXRx, BronxNet's special coverage providing you the latest information that matters to you during COVID-19, the coronavirus. I'm your host, Sonyi Lopez, and today is Tuesday, April 7th. I want to start out by saying COVID-19 has hit the BronxNet family close to home. One of our own beloved and talented senior videographers, Steven DeCastro, is currently sick with coronavirus. We at BronxNet ask our viewers and friends to keep Steve and the many other patients and hospital staff taking care of them in their thoughts and prayers at this time. Thank you. On today's show, we'll be joined by several organizations and community members who are supporting the Bronx during these trying times. Coming up, we'll speak to BronxWorks to find out about homeless services and how some of the most vulnerable in the Bronx are coping through COVID-19. Then, former Amazon employee Chris Smalls organized a protest and strike against Amazon due to COVID-19. He was fired following the strike. We'll learn more about what happened later on. After that, students with disabilities face great obstacles with the educational system transition to remote learning. Grad student and future speech pathologist Alexia Capitanos tells us more about the pros and cons. And seniors and caregivers need support now more than ever. We'll find out how RAIN Inc. continues to assist the older population and how we can help them, and we'll also discuss heightened mental health during COVID-19. So please, stay tuned. Open BXRx starts now. Welcome to Open BXRx on BronxNet. I'm your host, Sonyi Lopez, inviting you to get social with us at BronxNet TV on Instagram and Twitter, and BronxNet Community Television on Facebook. Also, if you're watching us on cable, you can stay up to date with our on-screen social media feeds, providing the latest COVID-19 and community updates and important headlines. We're all being told to shelter in place and social distance. But what about the homeless population? BronxWorks is remaining committed to their mission and working remotely to provide services to some of the most vulnerable during COVID-19. Joining us now is Eileen Torres, Executive Director at BronxWorks. Thank you for joining us, Eileen.
Thank you for having me.
So first, Eileen, can we just talk about BronxWorks and the homeless services during COVID-19?
Sure. So working with the homeless population is challenging under normal circumstances. And so those challenges have just really increased during this crisis. Our clients are very vulnerable, and we have a number of shelters for singles. We have a number of shelters for homeless families as well. And so what we've done is essentially try to prepare our staff, keeping their safety and their health of utmost priority, as well as the safety and health of our clients. And so we've distributed masks, gloves, hand sanitizers, Clorox wipes, the supplies that seem to be just flying off the shelf these days. And so we have all of our staff supplied with all these essential items right now. And we've reviewed all the CDC guidelines with social distancing, wiping down commonly touched surfaces. And, the staff are completely dedicated. They are worried and concerned about their own well-being, but they are very committed to the clients and continue to come in on a very daily basis. So,
and how is the team adapting to remote work?
So not all staff are able to work remotely. In particular, the 24-hour facilities do require for staff to come in. Our security, our maintenance, our case managers, they're on the front lines of things. And so it's been very interesting Pre-COVID-19, our staff did have laptops and devices, but not all of them. Most of the staff that had those devices were managers or client care coordinators. And so the case managers didn't necessarily have a laptop at home that we've issued to them by the agency. So there was a big scramble to, of course, meet the need and do that quickly. And we've gone ahead and purchased additional devices. And so we're also trying to stay connected and trying to figure things out like the rest of the world. And so the work continues. The staff are at the ready and have been very, very good and resourceful in trying to figure things out also with us, right? We certainly have made some mistakes in the beginning about, trying to figure out how to connect people, assuming that if we hand out tablets to everyone or a laptop to people that they immediately have, Wi-Fi at home. That's not necessarily the case with some of the employees. So we've had to also order MiFi devices for them so that they're able to connect and use the tablet at home as well. So.
Bronx Work staff has also been very dedicated to providing food even throughout the crisis via food pantries. Can you tell us where people in need can go to get this help, Eileen?
Bronx Works generally one of the biggest challenges that our community that we serve faces usually has to do with evictions, right? And so now there's a moratorium on the evictions for 90 days. And so I do feel that while there's a stay on that, that may be an issue later on. So currently what the biggest number of calls the largest number of calls that we're getting and requests that we're getting are for food assistance. And that's coming in from families that we're already connected to, perhaps that we're working in developments that they live in, providing food there, right? So it may be a development that we're providing workforce development services, or a development where we have historically been the after-school provider. So we're not generally in the service of providing food to the residents in that building. And so we're getting lots of calls because people know us from those families saying, how can you help us? We don't have food in the house. We're also getting a lot of calls from our seniors. We operate a number of senior centers. And so I guess word of mouth, a number of seniors that are not necessarily connected to our senior centers have been calling, also looking for food. So I think right now the number one priority for us is trying to mobilize and try to get either purchase food or partner with a number of other organizations that have been really, really generous to us right now. There's one group in particular, the Bronx Private Industry Council, that quickly was able to get us donations so that this past Saturday, we operated our food pantry, and we had a number of new families and very large households come in seeking food for the pantry. All at the same time that we're trying to make sure that we're maintaining our social distance from everyone. So that's also been a challenge for us. But so people can go to our 1130 Grand Concourse location, which is our main site, our main hub. There's a Saturday pantry. The next time we open every other Saturday. So the next time we'll be open is Saturday, April 11th. And then we have 2 senior centers to operate food pantries. We're still trying to get a sense of how much food we will have so that we can operate, and we'll put that up on our website. But there'll be 2 senior centers that will continue to operate their food pantry. And before anyone sort of wonders, like, how are we able to continue to operate those and still maintain social distance? We set up blue painter's tape on the sidewalk to make sure that people understood to stand 6 feet apart. We distributed gloves and masks and hand sanitizers and Clorox wipes to our staff. And the pantry at 1130 Grand Concourse is actually a client choice pantry, where typically clients are able to come in and shop for their items. It's kind of like a little mini supermarket where they get to pick what they would like. And obviously, right now with COVID-19 crisis, we're not able to do that. So what we did do is we handed out a menu for the clients, and they were able to select the items on the paper, hand that paper over to a staff member who again had gloves and a mask on, and then the staff member handed it to the volunteers, which were really our senior staff that were there this past Saturday, and we were able to put the items in the bag for them and then hand the items already bagged to the clients. And so it's just a new way for us, to do this.
So folks, don't worry. BronxWorks has an entire system ready in order to ensure that safety and the precautions are being followed and still assisting the public. So thank you, Eileen, for that.
Yes.
Can we learn also about the BronxWorks Emergency Fund for COVID?
Yes. So we, one of the things that we usually do on an annual basis is we host an annual gala. Obviously, with this crisis, we had to cancel our gala, and the gala is what brings in the most amount of unrestricted dollars for BronxWorks. And so, one of the things that we quickly did is try to set an emergency fund, because usually typically with the funds that we get from the gala, that allows some flexible funding for us to continue to meet the needs of the community, even if we don't necessarily have a grant from either the city or a foundation to do whatever service it is that needs to be done for the community. And so with this emergency fund, one of the examples I gave was the need for food, the increased need for food. And so our programs, we have only 3 pantries that we're operating. And obviously we won't be able to meet that increased need for Bronxites. So something like this with the emergency fund, we would be able to get additional dollars that would allow us then to go out, either purchase food, purchase the bags that we would be able to put everything into, bring in, if we need to, additional staff to help. Because what we're finding is the typical staffing pattern that we've set up with volunteers for a pantry of the size that we normally have isn't sufficient right now, because we're seeing more people who need the service. We also have been delivering some of the meals, like delivering emergency pantry bags to different housing developments that we don't typically service with food. And so that requires then a driver that we haven't had, a driver, the gas for the van to drive around, the boxes, like everything that sort of is that's needed to run this additional service. The other thing that we set up the fund for is to match the need that we have to ensure the safety and wellness of our staff and our clients, because now we have this the increased need to buy cleaning supplies, to do deep cleaning very regularly, which we hadn't necessarily been doing before. And we've also engaged an outside vendor to come in and do some of the deep cleaning for us. So they come in with their little hazmat suits and everything, just because we want to take every precaution that we can with clients and staff, right? And so that is a very expensive service, not something that we ever predicted we would need, and not something that we budgeted for. So, so we've set up that emergency fund.
And how can people collaborate and help out and donate to this fund?
The best thing that people can do is, if they're willing, is to make a donation. No donation is too small, because then it helps us know exactly how much we have to spend, and we can budget accordingly for, who knows, for the duration of this crisis, right? We don't really know. We've been told different things. It's going to end in April. Now it sort of seems like it'll be May. Then, I believe the last thing the governor said was he showed a chart that shows really that we'll be in this together till really the end of June into July. So.
And Eileen, to close out, just a message for the Bronxites and vulnerable communities from BronxWorks at this time.
Our message is, look, the Bronx, we're resilient people, right? We've been through fires in the 70s. We've really come such a long way. And we will get through this. We'll get through this together. I think, one of the things that I've seen is people in general want to help one another. And that's a beautiful thing, right? So we're in the business as it is to always make that our mission to help our neighbor, but we certainly see those who have very little try to give the minimum that they have, the little bit that they have to someone else. And I really do think that, again, together we're going to get through this. We'll be stronger.
Yes, we will. And thank you so much, Eileen, for joining us today. Thank you to BronxWorks for all the work that you've been doing and continue to do throughout this crisis.
Well, thank you.
Folks, the BronxWorks Emergency Fund helps some of the most vulnerable communities in New York City during COVID-19 crisis. Please visit bronxworks.org to see how you can help out. Open BXRx will be right back. Al tomar transporte público, no toques su teléfono. Lleve desinfectante para sus manos y úselo inmediatamente al salir del autobús o tren. No te toques la cara. Si alguien tose o estornuda, aléjase. Lávese las manos con agua y jabón lo antes posible. Limite el contacto con los postes. Si es posible, evite las horas pico. No comas ni bebas en transporte público. Mantenga su bolsa del piso o otras superficies. Evite tocar directamente los torniquetes. Manténgase al día con lo último de su Departamento de Salud local y el CDC. Welcome back to Open BXRx. Amazon has been under fire recently for the firing of an employee who decided to hold a strike against the company. What are Amazon employees demanding, and what was the reason for his firing? Here to tell us more is former Amazon employee and the organizer of the recent Amazon strike, Chris Smalls. Chris, thanks for joining us today.
No problem. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Can we just start out by saying where you're from in New York, how long you were working at Amazon, and what the experience was like before all this?
Well, sure. I'm actually from New Jersey. I love New York, though. I'm from Hackensack, New Jersey. I've been with the company 5 years. I opened up 3 major buildings. New Jersey was first, Connecticut was second, New York was my last one. And how this whole situation transpired, basically, as you know, we're dealing with a crisis, a pandemic across America, across the globe. I started noticing people get sick in the warehouse weeks ago. I tried to be proactive instead of reactive. I escalated it to the HR team. I warned them, like, something's wrong here. My associates are getting sick. They're being dizzy. They're lightheaded. They're fatigued. They're vomiting. It was bad. It was a scary situation. And I decided to take action, You want to ask some questions, but I could just keep talking.
What were the demands of the strike? the strike that you organized?
Right. So the strike was basically for the people that are at home right now that's not being paid. There's people with underlying health conditions, asthma, bronchitis, lupus. There's women that are pregnant. There's women that have infant kids. They can't come to work. There's senior citizens that we have. They can't come to work. They're at home, myself included. I was unpaid for quite a while. I took money out of my 401k to get by because I didn't want to come to work. They're scared. So I want to be a voice for them and let the company realize what they're doing to people right now. It's not right. It's inhumane. So, my demands is that they be paid. Everybody should be paid for the time they had to take off for the entire month. And all we really wanted was the building to be closed down and sanitized, just like the building that closed down in Queens. We wanted the same thing. What is the difference? I don't understand what the difference was. So That's why I took a stance.
And now, Chris, Amazon claims that the reason for your firing was, quote, for violating social distancing guidelines. What are your thoughts behind this reasoning?
Thank God I did it, because if I didn't do it, more people would have been at risk. My colleague tested positive. I had a conversation with her Tuesday morning. She'd been in the building for 10 hours the previous days. What about all those people? What about the people that are working there right now that don't know who's tested positive in the building? They're not being transparent. I only had a conversation with her for less than 5 minutes just to send her home. If I didn't come to work that day, guess what? She would have been there another 2 days. So I didn't put the company at risk. I didn't put anybody else at risk because I didn't know, number one, but they did that. The company did that. Their policies is flawed. The way the policy work is that you don't get paid quarantine leave, number one, until you contract the virus. Which is crazy. You got to catch the virus to get paid. And the only way you get your quarantine pay is you got to get the confirmation from the doctors to the HR department. So good luck trying to do that in a number of days. It's impossible right now. She didn't get the letter in until Thursday morning. So she had the window of opportunity to actually return to work with the virus if she wanted to. But thank God I sent her home. So they could put it on me. I don't really care. I don't know who's their medical expertise that's quarantine people that came in contact with. What is the definition of that? But why only me and not everybody else? Those are the questions that need to be answered.
And Chris, when you organized the strike, did you think that you would get fired? Was that in your mind?
I thought about it, but at that point I was already in, I put my career on the line. It cost me my career, but I'd do it a million times. I don't care. I don't want to work for a company that don't care about people.
And now Mayor Bill de Blasio is now investigating your firing. What do you think he will find, in your opinion?
He'll find a whole bunch of shadiness and flaws. As you can see, this was a cry for help, and the company's response is to terminate me. They're hiding something. They're hiding a lot of things. I had an interview last night with Chris Haynes, live on TV. As soon as my interview was over, guess what the company did? They sent out a mass text to everybody in the building saying there's 3 more cases. Right at the same time, same exact time my interview ended, because I exposed them last night. I told them there's no transparency about how many cases that building has. So they tried to cover their ass, excuse my language. They sent out a mass text right then and there. I put it up on my page. There's nothing up for me to hide. If I really came in contact with people and put people at risk, they had my full consent to release the video of what I've done the entire week. I sat in the main break room in the cafeteria, peacefully, 6 feet away from everybody for 8 hours a day, spreading awareness off the clock. I wasn't getting paid for that. I did it just because I felt like it was right.
And I still see Amazon delivering packages. Are you all being provided protective gear in any way to deliver and work at the warehouse and on the streets? Like, how is that working at Amazon?
Absolutely not. You got to think about it. Even the medical field don't have PPE. The first responders, the doctors, the nurses. What makes you think the retail company gonna have PPE? There's 500,000 employees for Amazon. We don't have the PPE. We don't have the proper mask. We don't have no mask. We don't have gloves. This is a retail industry. And that's the problem. Jeff Bezos and all these VPs and regionals and spokespeople, they keep comparing us to a medical field. My job description said, have a high school diploma, a GED, and lift 50 pounds. It did not say work during the pandemic and put your life on the line for a virus that you don't have a cure for. I didn't sign up for that. So stop comparing us to the Red Cross. Stop calling us heroes. We're not heroes. We're regular people. That's the problem right there. They're trying to think that we're doing good for the community, which we are in a sense, but what good are we if we're carriers of the virus? We're coming home to our families.
And now, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, you good.
Do you have a message for like other Amazon workers and also companies like Amazon for like how they can work through all this?
Take the power back. You'll see the revolution. I started a revolution. Trust me. I'm getting calls from buildings all over the nation right now. I'm supporting them. There's walkouts as we speak. They're going to see we're taking the power back. And if they don't answer our call, then we're going to take the power back and their pockets is going to hurt. The millions of dollars that they're making off of us, they're not going to see those. And I hope it happens. You want to practice real social distancing? Stop clicking the button, America. Stop clicking the button. You might save lives.
And what's next for you, Chris, after all this?
I have no idea. I'm unemployed. I have faith in God. I miss my kids. I haven't seen my kids in 2 months, because of this. So I don't know what's next. All I know is short term, I'm fighting for the people that's still in those buildings. I'm going to continue to fight.
Thank you so much, Chris, for your time. And thanks for joining us.
No problem. Take care. Y'all be safe.
You as well. Open BXRx will be right back.
Who's most at risk for coronavirus? People over 65, people with underlying medical conditions like heart disease, chronic lung disease, asthma, diabetes, people undergoing cancer treatment, and people with weakened immune systems. What should you do if you or a loved one is at higher risk? Avoid close contact with people, avoid crowds, stay home if you can, wash your hands frequently. Learn more ways to protect yourself and others at coronavirus.gov.
TV news, radio reports, and newspaper headlines in the 1970s and 80s misrepresented communities in the borough of the Bronx. Then, something transformative happened. By, for, and about the Bronx, BronxNet was born.
BronxNet provides media education,
opening the doors to competitive careers in the media industry
for thousands of students in middle school,
high school,
and college.
BronxNet.
Welcome back to Open BXRx. Due to COVID-19, the education system has completely transformed for teachers, parents, and children. There's also another group in between, students with disabilities. We're joined by Alexia Capetanos, grad student at Touro College studying speech pathology. Alexia balances teaching students with disabilities, her externship, and her own coursework as a grad student, which has proven to be a challenge remotely. Thank you for joining us, Alexia.
Thank you for having me.
So first, Alexia, can we talk about your work with students with disabilities and how remote learning and teaching has really changed that work for you?
Yeah, so I'm currently doing my externship at Wheels, which is a school located in Washington Heights, which is where I was born and raised. And I have a caseload of kids that vary from pre-K to 7th grade. So that's about as young as 4 years old to 14 years old. And basically, I give them therapy. I give them language therapy. So it could be helping them express their ideas to others, articulation therapy if you cannot pronounce the sound. And also I have a lot of students, not a lot of students, but I have some students that have ADHD, dyslexia. So a variety of different disorders and impairments are in my caseload. So I give them therapy, I assess them, and as a result of what's happening with the coronavirus, I had to transition from basically having that in-person interaction with my students. I basically give teletherapy. And what teletherapy is, for those who don't know, so you're basically providing services just online through video, basically. And it has to be HIPAA compliant. So you need to make sure that the privacy of the students, the clients, are guaranteed. So instead of waking up and starting my day at 8:15 with my kids, I log on to Google Classroom, go on Google Hangouts like we are right now, and I provide them therapy with my supervisor. So,
and can you tell us about the challenges with that, with going to the teletherapy and doing that remotely? Is that a challenge for, you know, your particular field with speech pathology, where it's more like interpersonal, right?
Yeah, so teletherapy and telepractice, it's something that's it's new in the field that I'm in. A lot of people do it. It's something that's very popular. And it, of course, like everything else in life, it has its pros and its cons. So to start off with the cons, honestly, one thing that really was difficult is scheduling therapy sessions. So I am very fortunate that I am under the supervision of a certified speech language pathologist at the school. So I really do a lot of the assisting work for her. She mainly does everything. But basically scheduling therapy sessions is really difficult because students now are, you know, they're doing remote learning with their teachers and with their classes. So you need to find your way when it comes to making it like work for them. Okay, like, is this time gonna work for them? Is it gonna work for me? Also, you need to schedule your time around their caregivers. And a lot of the caregivers are essential workers. A lot of them still need to go to work. And it's something that, you know, we have to take into consideration when scheduling. And overall, life continues. People are busy. It's an emotional time for everyone. People still continue to live life as they normally can. So you need to schedule around that. So scheduling was definitely difficult. Another thing I would say, as someone who is studying to become a speech language pathologist, it's a field where it's very interactive, especially when you're dealing with younger kids. So finding interactive materials to do with kids online was one of the most hardest things, personally for me, because it's different when you're in a group session with 3 kids and you could play tic-tac-toe or Connect Four, and you're going over a worksheet that they don't want to do because, for kids, it's schoolwork for them.
Right.
You need to find, it's very hard finding like a balance with materials that are interactive and materials that are just, okay, I'm signing on to my classroom remotely. Now I need to go to speech therapy, and they're just looking at a worksheet. I am very fortunate to be in a school where the principal's really great. My supervisor is very great. They go out of their way to give kids like the resources they need in order for them to succeed during this difficult time. But the reality of it is not a lot of schools have, a lot of like resources.
Right.
For instance, some kids don't have computers or tablets at home or even Wi-Fi. So how are you supposed to, sign up on Google Classroom if you don't have a tablet or you don't have Wi-Fi? I will say the DOE is doing a really good job trying to provide kids with like tablets and computers in order for them to do the remote learning. But then again, we're talking about thousands of New York City kids.
Alexia, are there any pros towards remote learning and teaching?
Yeah, there are pros to remote learning and teaching. I would say the number one thing, honestly, is whether you're a teacher, an educator, student, I feel like we're very fortunate to even be given the option to have remote learning and to be able to teach online. Because if that wasn't the case, then, there would be a lot of regression, I think, in my point of view. So very fortunate for the teletherapy, for the online learning. And also, I've been noticing that caregivers are really getting involved now because they want to know, how can my child not be left behind or fall behind on their schoolwork or in their therapy goals? That's another thing. And overall, it's in the comfort of your own home. So there's pros and cons.
You kind of fit like all 3 angles, which is interesting, of like how difficult it is to remote learn and remote teach. So like you're also doing an externship, you're a student at Toru College, and you are teaching kids and you're learning all at the same time. So as a student, how has your university been supporting you and other students through these changes?
Yeah. So at Toru College, so I'm in my last year of my master's. I could definitely say it hit them the same way it hit me as a student. But I would say overall, I am given the resources that I do need to succeed as a student. It's just being a student, especially in a master's program, it's just very hard, just like the online Zoom and the online taking midterms.
Right.
It's just, especially when you're a hands-on learner like I am, it's very difficult to just take it all in. And I think that schools are overwhelmed, like colleges are overwhelmed. My school did very good at continuing classes for us. There are some universities that have canceled classes for students because of everything that's happening. They've been really good with that. They've been really good at basically hosting weekly meetings and providing us with Google Docs to basically voice our concerns so that we could get accommodations. So I definitely think that I have it good as a master's student in the program that I'm in right now, because again, I'm provided with the resources and I'm provided with, a support system, a very positive support system. But there are universities out there and there are other students that, unfortunately, they don't have the same resources that I do. But accommodations are being made 100%. And there's just nothing like in-class learning for me as a student or someone that's teaching kids. There's just nothing like that interpersonal live, interaction. There's nothing like it.
And do you fear, like many other university students, grad or undergrad, that this is going to affect your graduation later on?
Yeah, so I'm at my externship at the school right now. In order for me to get certified to practice, I need to have a certain amount of therapy hours that I give to kids, and I need to have just a certain amount of hours for me to graduate in general. And I have certification exams that I have to take, and those are being canceled or postponed, which is very frightening, and it's very nerve-wracking personally as a student. But yeah, I've definitely, I've been affected with that. I've been affected with, I don't know if I'm going to obtain the certain amount of hours I need to be a certified speech pathologist, like in the timely manner that I expected. And, the city's postponing tests, like the SATs and stuff was canceled. The Praxis, which is the test I have to take, was canceled and has to be rescheduled. So 100%. Yeah, I don't know if I'll be graduating on time, but again, my school's really trying to not postpone like my graduation.
Wow. Alexia, thank you for sharing and thank you for joining us today. And best of luck to you, all teachers and students through all of this. And, good luck with everything.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Stay tuned. Open BXRx will be right back.
Why should young people care about the spread of coronavirus? Well, we know that people with underlying medical conditions over the age of 60 are at highest risk, but they've got to get it from somebody.
So we're asking everyone to be selfless for others so that we can protect those who are most susceptible.
Not going to bars, not going to restaurants. It all just means physical separation so that you have a space between you and others.
For more information on how you can social distance, please go to coronavirus.gov.
Welcome back to Open BXRx. Our seniors always need extra care and protection. Their caregivers are there to support. COVID-19 has only magnified this need. And mental health does not discriminate against age. Isolation has been a cause for concern in our communities. And Dr. Anderson Torres is the CEO of Rain Total Care, and he's also a mental health professional. He's here to speak to us about these important topics. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Torres.
No, thank you, Ms. Lopez, for the opportunity. I'm really glad to be here. And if I could be of any assistance to anyone who's listening, that's what we're, all about.
Thank you so much. The first thing we wanted to start to talk about, Dr. Torres, was about the additional challenges seniors and caregivers are facing during this time due to COVID. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, absolutely. I think that I need to briefly refer to the organization that was founded in 1964. So we've been around for a very long time. And between all of the different products and programs that we offer, we serve about 4,000 individuals. The majority of those are the elderly. New York City Department for the Aging defines an elderly person as anyone who is 60 and above. So we have 13 senior centers. And within that, the age range is from 60 to 104. There was one individual whose birthday was today, and we were going to have a big celebration at one of the senior centers. Her name is Mother Turner, and we were going to celebrate her big milestone. But unfortunately, because of what we're going through, we had to cancel and restructure the way we do business. Thanks to the New York City Department for the Aging and the other funding sources that we have, we've been able to provide some support to the senior population. We went from having a senior center where people came and played pool, did yoga, tai chi, dancing, Zumba, and meals and birthday celebrations, to just having to come in, grab a meal, and go. Now, the New York City Department for the Aging, through its connections and resources, has redefined that. And as we speak, the food is being delivered to the person's home so that they don't have to come out to the senior center. Unfortunately, I must tell you that, especially in the Bronx, the Bronx was the worst in their score for health outcomes out of all the counties in New York State. We were the last. And being a borough that's very mixed with different cultures, the predominant culture is Hispanic Latino, there are a lot of comorbidities with the people that we serve. So it's not unusual, and I'm sure that you can relate to this, for someone that we know who may have diabetes, hypertension, cardiac disease, arthritis, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and a host of and obesity and a host of other conditions. It puts our seniors in particular at such a high risk that it's scary. I'm very sad to report that we have already lost seniors to COVID through the different senior centers. And some are also in critical condition as we speak in some of our hospitals here in the Bronx. Now, on the home care side, we serve all ages, children and adults, but the majority of the people are seniors. And I tell you that we've already lost 15 patients to COVID-19.
Wow.
Elderly. And the home health aides are also at risk. And this is just the pandemic has really impacted all communities, all families all over the world.
And Dr. Torres, RAIN continues to provide those resources and services remotely. What are some of those services that seniors and caregivers can receive at this time?
Oh my gosh. Well, let me tell you something. I'm very proud of my staff, I must say, who have been there to meet a need. We have been able to, through our 20 programs within the organization, we have another program where many people will know it as Meals on Wheels. It's called RAIN Senior Options. And I have drivers and meal deliverers that go and actually deliver a meal to a homebound elderly individual. That has not stopped. Actually, we've been getting calls from seniors, from caregivers. Listen, my parent needs a meal. Can you assist? Or they're senior themselves. I can't get out. I don't have any food. Can you please come over and give us a meal? And we've been able to provide that. And if it's not in our catchment area, through our network, we also then link up with other sister agencies to coordinate the delivery of that meal. Now, we have that, and then we have also the Cucina Dolores program, which is funded by the Bob and Dolores Hope Foundation. The comedian that we knew, Bob Hope, his wife was raised in the South Bronx, and my founder, Beatriz Casigla Catullo, had met folks from the foundation, and they wanted to identify a community-based grassroots organization like ours, and we've been partnering. That Cucina Dolores truck is a mobile food truck. And to this day, we're going to different neighborhoods in the Bronx, and we're providing a hot meal that is ready to eat. And with this, we've been able to go to places of worship. There's some churches that we're passing by, to shelters, to encampments, to certain street corners, and providing that meal because people are going hungry. And they're going to the grocery stores or the supermarkets, and they're not finding items. For some of us, it may be very difficult to even find like chicken in a supermarket. So that truck is God sent. And I must tell you that I received a call from a community provider in the South Bronx that has over 2,000 seniors in their housing complex that have not had access to food. And so through the Cucina Dolores program, we were able to add them to our route and provide the nutritionist meal. Wow. And for caregivers that are isolated, we have an Alzheimer's Caregiver Link program, and we've been able to engage in remote support group and advocacy for that client population. So we've been able to still render services, although from the office, the staff is predominantly working remote, but then we have the field staff that are out there every day in the trenches, diciendo presente, to try and meet that need.
Wow. Dr. Torres, social isolation has always been kind of a worrisome topic for both caregivers and seniors. And now with COVID, it seems to have heightened these worries. How could the youth support or this generation support our parents and grandparents during this time of social isolation, worry, and quarantine?
You know, we have several partnerships going on within the organization. And I'm very proud to say with Lehman School of Social Work, Silverman School of Social Work at Hunter College and Fordham University, and we have social work interns that have been a part of our fold. Through the progression of the coronavirus, COVID-19, some of those programs have begun to stop. But we continue with our social work interns from Lehman. They have been able to make phone calls to the homebound client that's isolated to check up on them. We also have a program called the Telephone Reassurance Program, Friendly Visiting Program, and we're able to also make those calls. So that way, the individual at home doesn't need to feel threatened or afraid that someone is coming into their home and possibly infecting them. But they have stated, thank you for the call. This is the only call that we've gotten today. And that does wonders to individuals' mind, body, and spirit, to be able to connect with another human being. So through Rain Services, we're able to provide that level of support. And there's nothing better than to hear another friendly voice over the phone.
I love that. A simple phone call nowadays will really make the difference when it comes to seniors and those who are socially isolated. And speaking of, I mean, how can we support RAIN at this time before we go on to the next topic, Dr. Torres?
Sure. I think it'll be important to visit our website, www.raininc.org. And, you know, whether it is a donation that you would like to make or find out more about a program or a service, and giving us a call and seeing how we may be able to utilize your level of expertise, you know, being able to volunteer even on the meal delivery route, please give us a call and we'll find a way to connect.
And I'm glad that we have you here because you're also a mental health professional. So I just wanted to you know, get into the fact that mental health today is more important than ever. I mean, it's always been important, but isolation has been affecting many mentally. What would you say about that, about the effects of COVID-19 on the mental psyche?
Well, thank you. That's an excellent question, and I'm glad that you are asking it. Many people need to really engage in a conversation regarding mental fitness, mental health, you know, an emotional tune-up, and don't see it as anything negative. COVID-19, and I've seen it in practice already, where it can bring about symptoms related to panic attacks, anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder. And if there are already underlying psychological distress or worries, it will magnify that to a degree where the individual may feel a certain degree of hopelessness, and that's not easy to deal with. We've been able to identify the fear. I've been hearing a lot of people stating, you know, there's a pressure on my chest. Do I have COVID? You know, when they're not symptomatic or have been exposed and they've been cleared, but it's that level of stress, la pendencia, la preocupación, for those of us that are, you know, of Spanish background and can relate to that. And it's very important to take a chill pill, so to say, you know, not an actual pill, this is just a metaphor, and be able to reflect and take a step back, take a deep breath, right? And also being able to think of a very happy memory, something that you're looking forward to. The fact that we're not in a hospital right now, the fact that, you know, we're managing as independently as we are, to be able to connect with others. There's also professional isolation. And in speaking with individuals in the field of health, with social workers, with doctors, with nurses, They have told me it's a war zone. When we go to work, when we hear code, code, code repeatedly, it gives them a sense of powerlessness, where they can't do anything and they're losing a certain level of control. And that's where it's very important to, take an emotional break and meditate, engage in a certain breathing exercise, reframing the mind so that you get a break from the actual situation. As we know, unfortunately, hospitals are seeing a large number of deaths of people dying as a result of COVID-19. And that also has a certain element of not only stress, but maybe guilt in what else could I have done? Right. Where did I fail? How am I going to tell a family member who may not be allowed into the room or into the hospital that their loved one hasn't made it? Mm-hmm. So that constant delivery of bad news, that has a toll. And we're human. And there's nothing wrong with admitting or reaching out to someone else saying, you know what, I need to talk to someone. Just hear me out. I don't want to be judged. Just, listen to me and have that outlet. And that's where it's important for us to be connected, one human being to another, to offer some level of support. You don't need, all the credentials on this planet in order to also be of support to someone who may be going through a very difficult moment right now.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Torres. And thank you for joining us. And thank you to Rain Inc. for their continued support of caregivers and seniors during this time.
No, thank you. Feel free to reach out. We're here. Listen, can you dodge a raindrop when it's raining?
No.
And that's who we are. We're a shower of services, okay? So remember that, whether it be a mental health need, whether it be a meal, whether it be a service, we're here all over. Una lluvia de bendiciones.
I had to think about it. I was like, can I? No, I don't think so. Thank you so much, Dr. Torres.
Right, thank you.
If you would like to stay in touch with Rain Inc. and see how you can help our seniors and caregivers at this time, please visit raininc.org. That's all for our show today. Thank you for tuning in to BXRx. I'm your host, Sonyi Lopez, wishing you and your family safety and wellness now and always. Until next time. When taking public transportation, don't touch your phone. Carry hand sanitizer and use it immediately upon leaving the bus or train. Avoid touching your face. If someone is coughing or sneezing, move away. Wash your hands with soap and water as soon as possible. Limit contact with poles. If possible, avoid rush hour. Don't eat or drink on public transportation. Keep your bag off the floor or other surfaces. Avoid directly touching turnstiles. Stay up to date with the latest from your local health department and CDC.